Hi everybody, it's Sarah from LessofSarah, back with another video today. Today is October 26th, 2012. It's a Friday, which means it is my 5-week pre-op video today. So 5 weeks from today, I will be, hopefully, I will have already had my surgery with Dr. Aceves in Mexicali, Mexico. I mentioned in my previous video that I was going to talk a little bit about how I came to the decision of the type of bariatric surgery I'm having, why I chose to have it in Mexico, and how I chose my surgeon, Dr. Aceves. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. The standard type of bariatric surgery that's still probably the gold standard everywhere is called a Roux-en-Y or an RNY, which is what most people think of when they think bariatric surgery. They think of a gastric bypass. The Roux-en-Y is called a bypass because what's done is the surgeon makes a little pouch out of part of your stomach, segments it from the rest of your stomach, and attaches that little pouch to about roughly the middle of your small intestine. So part of your digestive system is being bypassed, your large intestine and let me try that again. Part of your small intestine is being bypassed, and therefore you don't absorb all of the calories from your food, nor do you absorb all of the vitamins and nutrients, unfortunately, from your food. So the RNY is both a restrictive and a malabsorptive procedure, meaning the amount that you can eat is restricted, which causes weight loss, and also you don't absorb all the calories from your food, which also causes weight loss. RNY is a great surgery, I'm sure. I know tons of people have had it. Tons of people are very successful with it. I didn't feel like an RNY was for me for a number of reasons. The surgery that I chose is called a VSG, a vertical sleeve gastrectomy. If you know your medical terms, you'll know that a gastrectomy means that part of your stomach is being removed or excised. Which sounds, I know, a little bit scary to some people when I talk to them about it, like you're having part of your stomach removed. It's actually probably 70 to 85% of your stomach that's permanently removed, which leaves you a little sleeve-like stomach, or it looks maybe a little bit like a banana. And that's why it's called a vertical sleeve gastrectomy. The vertical sleeve gastrectomy keeps your digestive system basically working exactly the same way. You just have a smaller stomach. So a VSG is just a restrictive procedure. Try that again. A restrictive procedure. There's no malabsorption with a VSG. So technically speaking, on average, people who have a VSG do lose slightly more. Or sorry, I should say they lose slightly less. So I think the numbers are something like, if you have an RNY, you can expect to lose 75 to 85% of your excess weight, whereas with a VSG, it's 65 to 75%. Don't quote me on the numbers, but it's something like that. That said, I know that there are tons of people who have done extremely well with VSG and have lost 100% or more than 100% of their excess weight. So I think that with the VSG, because you are only relying on restriction, it isn't for everyone, but and I think, I'm not going to say it's more work than having an RNY, but I think that you need to be a little more controlled, a little stricter to be successful with the VSG, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to do that. I really didn't love the idea of having to take tons and tons of vitamins and supplements for the rest of my life, which is the reality if you have an RNY. A VSG still requires, based on the restriction aspect of it, because you can't get enough nutrients and vitamins from your food only because you're eating such a small amount. It does require supplementation, but it's not quite as much as with an RNY. So that was a big part of why I chose the VSG as well. The other really important part for me is really very personal. My grandfather passed away this summer. He had stomach cancer, and he chose to have surgery, and interestingly enough, he actually had an RNY as a reconstructive procedure because he had a gastrectomy, part of his stomach was removed. But to make a long story short, his recovery didn't go very well, and a month after his surgery, he passed away. Knowing that stomach cancer runs in my family, I just don't love the idea of having this blind pouch. That extra part of your stomach that isn't being used isn't attached to your digestive system, which means it can't be scoped. In other words, to determine, with no doubt whether there's a problem or not, you actually have to be opened up. And that's a scary prospect to me. The idea that I could have, a cancerous tumor or who knows what happening in that pouch, and the only way to find out is, for them to go in and open you up. It's pretty severe. I know that I would be constantly thinking about it. And so that's another reason why ultimately that was actually a really big part that really pushed me in the direction of choosing the VSG. Choosing the VSG actually made a big difference as to wanting to have the surgery in Mexico rather than having it here. The province that I live in Canada, probably does the most bariatric surgeries of anywhere in Canada. We have 5 bariatric centers. But it is government run. It's highly restricted. While I'm sure that I could and would qualify to have the surgery, it is totally controlled basically by the center and by the surgeon. The center that you go to is determined by where you live. The center that is actually not technically the closest to me, but the one that I would be assigned to, I don't think they really actually do VSGs there. And if they do, it's only because you have to convince your surgeon that there is a specifically good reason or reasons why you should be having a VSG versus an RNY. The RNY is still definitely the gold standard here. And the idea of having to persuade my surgeon to do a surgery that maybe he's only done a few of before and isn't that comfortable with doesn't make me all that comfortable. There's also a long waiting time here. It's about probably a year to 18 months, which I know for some people wouldn't sound like a long time, but for me, that's just like an eternity. I am not the world's most patient person. And when I'm trying to make a big decision, I do tons of research. I've been researching bariatric surgery for probably 1.5 or 2 years. But once I finally make a decision, it's because I'm ready to move on and move forward, and I want to do it right now. I don't really want to have to wait. And so the idea of having to wait that long is just, I for my mental health, I think it's a good idea. It's my alarm going off again. I think it's a better idea not to be doing that. Sorry. So, yeah. I mean, what can I say? I'm impatient, and that's part of the reason that I decided I wanted to have surgery in Mexico rather than wait here. I supposedly had gotten a referral and then found out 6 months later that my doctor never actually sent in the referral. So I was even behind the timeline that I was hoping for. So that was a big issue for me as well. To be extremely honest, one of the huge issues has to do with my work. I work for myself. I own my own business. I do have some casual employees, but basically it's just me, and I'm responsible for everything. My work is seasonal, so there are times of the year when I'm extremely busy, and then there are times when there's more of a lull. But I'm lucky that my business has been very successful. In the past year or two, the lulls are few and far between. I'm usually extremely busy for probably 10 months of the year. And because everything rests on me, the way our system works here, you're basically sort of at the mercy of the system. And, when they decide that you're having surgery, that's when you're having it. And that's not going to work for me. I need to be able to have surgery at a time when it's not going to affect my business. Because literally having to take, a few weeks off or not being with it mentally for a few weeks because of, lack of food and all of that stuff, it's just not going to work. I mean, it could literally tank my whole business. So that was actually a huge aspect of why I decided to do it on my own. The decision about doing it in Mexico obviously was partially to do with cost. It does cost less in Mexico than it does to go into the US and have it done, which also would have been an option. More than that, as I did more and more research and Obesity Help, obesityhelp.com has an amazing forums with lots and lots of information on all kinds of weight loss surgery related topics, but also lots of people talking about their surgeons, lots of stuff that you can do research on. And Mexico kept coming up in these threads and stories that I was reading, and specifically two doctors, Dr. Aceves and Dr. Alvarez, the two Dr. A's in Mexico. And so I really started looking into it and reading more about it. Ultimately, I decided on Dr. Aceves, who's in Mexicali, Mexico. He has amazing reviews. I've never really read anything bad about him. I've read so many patient stories, and they all are just, glowing about how great he is. He has done tons and tons of procedures, both laparoscopic procedures and VSG specifically. I think he's done, I don't know, it's, plus 600 plus at least. So, I don't know, when it comes to trusting my body to a surgeon, I would much rather go to someone who's done 600 VSGs than maybe a handful of VSGs. So that made me way more comfortable with my decision to not wait and have surgery here. And even if I could get a VSG, have it with a surgeon who maybe, has only done a few VSGs before. I think it's really important to have a surgeon who has experience and knows what he's doing. I've only heard amazing things about Almeida Hospital that Dr. Aceves works out of, about all of the nurses, about the type of care that's provided. And so I have 100% confidence in having my surgery in Mexico. Obviously, the more I've told family or friends about it, people's first reaction is like, you're having surgery in Mexico, what are you talking about? I mean, I think we're all sort of conditioned to have this bias to thinking that somehow, Canadian medicine or American medicine is so much better. And I just don't think that's true in every case, and this is one of them. I'm really, really looking forward to the experience and looking forward to coming back and, telling everybody my story and letting everyone know what it was like. I plan on, giving you guys the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, if there are things that I don't think are great about the Mexico experience, I'm happy to share them. I'm hoping to maybe make some videos while I'm in Mexico, while I'm at the hospital, and directly sort of pre and post-op and all of that, just so you guys get the whole experience. So I'm looking forward to doing that, and I'm looking forward to making some more videos for you guys. I'll be back with another video probably sometime during the week, and then my 4-week pre-op video next Friday. It was great to talk to you. Have a great day.